Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to another edition of Know Your Unit, One Vision. So today we are talking about the Warlock, pretty much the optimal smarty pants trickster of the entire party roster. There is, I think, no other class that is so completely comically stacked in terms of how much they can do at once. Like, they're basically a Swiss Army knife with 10 more Swiss Army knives attached. They literally cannot even come close to doing most of their features at one time. So this is just a really cool unit. So, okay. Basically, when it comes to the Warlock, this is somebody that, by its description, is a mage, fighter, explorer, an ardent scholar who learned much of their trade from ancient writings. They're able to control golems and unleash their true potential. This is all technically true, and very dramatic. And also, for once in One Vision, a lot of this stuff is true. See, there's a lot of different forms that this class took from the enchanters back in Ogre Battle. In Ogre Battle 64, we had the alternate version of the enchanters there with completely different abilities. Dollmaster abilities, things like that. In Knight of Lotus, we had them functioning as kind of sort of a sword hybrid units. In PSP, they were basically the best class for wasting consumables, I guess. But as far as and in Reborn, they did pretty all right. They were okay, like a solid B, I guess. in Reborn, Draconics were really good. You just got them super late into the game, but as far as the Warlock in One Vision, they are the expert in damn near everything. To give you an idea, if we're talking about weapons, we've got knives, swords, we've got katanas, we've got staves, we've got whips, we've got books, we've got instruments, which are probably my personal favorite of the bunch, and if you're feeling spicy, because the Indiana Jones vibes were incredibly strong with this one already, yes, you can give this guy a revolver. Now, with that said, as far as their access goes, we actually can talk about their magic. Sure, their magic is extremely wide in terms of the different stuff that they got. Like, for example, if we were to go wind, we've got somebody that does not get missiles but does have AoE spells. They do have the ability to give somebody a dodge. They can go and give somebody the ability to fly, slow down an area, attack with percentage-based damage with something like Sky Pillar, probably once again, the primo boss killers in this game, where if you can get their magic accuracy high enough, which apparently my brain wants to call accuracy, which is not terrible, but also kind of dumb, but let's move on. Like, if you give them a spellcraft buff, and then improve their mind in some way, drop a boss with Sky Pillar, he can easily bully a lot of 1v1 boss fights with this, so that's just kind of cool. But effectively, it's 30% damage as well as inflicting bind, so it's basically air-based gravity, which is just fun. Or, for example, using something like Soul Spark from Fire here to give somebody Mighty Strike, or weaken and breach areas, or, shackle somebody, or you get your Judgments, or your Dispels for getting rid of debuffs, your Haste. Like, the amount of spells that they get is comical. That is no accident. Additionally, they've got a lot of one-off kind of mechanics here that are just, interestingly enough, glitches turned into cool magical spell effects. Like Agony, from what I understand, nobody knows why this particular trigger in the game works this way, but basically Agony is a spell that will do a locked-in percentage of your missing health compared with the center of your health bar. Basically, this means that unlike many other missing health kind of moves, like a lot of those one-shot kill sweeps you see in something like Pokemon here, effectively what we're seeing is, of all things, an accidentally completely balanced version of the missing health equals damage trope in the form of Agony. This actually used to be a spell that was also completely broken back in the SNES version, and it accidentally came back balanced here, so that's pretty darn cool. But yeah, it removes all of the MP from the unit and will hit them for exactly half of your health bar, which is why I've got health boosting items on Denim right now, as well as this spell for a locked-in roughly 200 damage. So basically, he runs up to a boss, he tanks a few hits, he drops a Sky Pillar for 30% of their health, and then drops an Agony to finish him off. Yes, this guy is a wizard that two-shots bosses, and that is freaking fun. On top of the usual wonderful draconic offerings like being able to give True Flight and Sidestep, or True Strike and Dodge, as well as the armor-piercing spells that they've got over here. So just good stuff. Technically not like full armor-piercing, but that's basically what it feels like. Closer Range Draconics feel like the armor-piercing spells, the other ones feel like soft magic AoEs. Anyway, so you'd think that that would be it, right? They're just a magic caster guy. Oh, we haven't even gotten started. So we've got all of these, sure. Then if we look at their list, we see that this is only kind of barely touching the surface because every magic type that's out there will have additional options for them, to the point that this video would probably be an hour long going through every single one of them. And again, weapons-wise, daggers, 1 HKs, cudgels, whips, spellbooks, instruments, fusils. One of the few classes that can actually innately learn fusils there, so that's pretty convenient, so you don't have to switch back and forth. Since their skill lists actually sometimes get a little complex, so you don't necessarily want their build to fall apart. Your usual augments, Teratology, Draconology, Sacrology, Demonology, Orology, Golemy for their abilities here. We haven't even gotten to the Golem stuff yet. Parry and Deflect, both of which you can go and build towards. I personally love parrying stuff with a guitar, it just cracks me up. Counter hits, Clarities and Efficacy for boosting their spell rates, Field Alchemy up to the maximum rank of 2, as well as some movement availability over there. Tactician for improving the use of their abilities, and then several unique abilities over here. In fact, even Lord doesn't get access to some of these because, frankly, a lot of them are hilariously broken. So, and I say broken like it's broken if you know how to use it. It's a very technical kind of broken. So, like, Distill Mind is you use an action move to basically materialize medicine out of nowhere to heal 20 MP plus a scaling percentage, which I think is like 15% of your MP bar or something. Distill Life is 50 health plus, I think, again, 15% of your health bar there, meaning that, for example, that Agony setup from before allows you to run up, use Agony on somebody for its maximum effect, and then heal yourself up for nearly full. Or Distill Remedy, which will get rid of all debuffs, basically a weaker version of the Tabula Rasa the Cleric gets, but also, you know, kind of cheaper and such at only 30 TP. All of these are 30 TP. And then from there, Distill Power, which allows you to materialize 50 TP out of nowhere to give to somebody else. You can't technically boost your own TP with this, but you're only getting like 10 extra. But you can also basically use it like, you can use it as a TP kind of meditate of sorts, but then you can also use this to go just give somebody extra TP. This means that these guys use both ends of their turns constantly. Like, their turns take longer than anybody else because you're constantly trying to figure out where to put these pieces. Okay. From there we have Empower Golem, which allows them to vastly increase the power of a golem nearby. As it says there, as it ranks up, your range increases. Golems can be made really, really tanky in this version, especially if running something like Gorge and Lock. So you can potentially put yourself in a position that you're going and empowering them, they're throwing a rock, potentially smushing a wizard or something, and then immediately turning on their hyper armor. So Golems in one vision, just beautiful stuff. They're basically a mech. Golem's Bane for getting rid of golems if you want to have the opposite problem, though realistically you can probably just shut them down with spells. Resonance abilities. Again, as if we didn't have enough stuff for them to do on their action turns, the resonances allow them to boost themselves and anybody nearby. So, for example, when it comes to these resonances, what I'll typically do is have him sitting by with the range support in the back and essentially instilling every ranged attacker. You might have seen this on a previous video. Just allows for that little bit of extra damage, and additionally allows to be ranked up over time, and rank improves accuracy for inflicting the debuff effect of this. The debuff effect isn't really that much of anything. Opportunist for improving accuracy if you're going for the weapon approach. Trajectory if you need to improve your accuracy a different way. Absorb MP if you'd like to just steal some MP from somebody while, realistically in this case you're probably just absorbing it from a passive sense. They're usually not terribly close range. It depends. It depends. Warlock can honestly be anywhere. They can be a long range, they can be a close range, they can be a mid range, they can be a support, they can be everything. They are the ultimate jack of all trades in one vision. Alright. Typical assortment of wards, and then finally we're down to Control Golem, which does exactly what it is. You reprogram a golem to your side. Now, the sheer number of spells available to these guys is ridiculous. Like, the ways that they can support people, nobody else can really do. It's kind of an advanced version of the Rune Fencer. Giving them a ton of potential for just achieving a wide variety of different goals, and this is on top of the fact that they can actually throw items innately as well. So as long as you don't give them a handgun, they can actually throw items just like the Rune Fencer can. So yeah, incredibly strong class. They don't get the armor of something like the Rune Fencer, but they do have a lot of potential for doing other things. On top of this, actually I'm not sure why I'm using a Magic Leaf here. I really should have been going and attacking that Hawkman over there. But on top of this, it's worth noting that they're also going to be exceptionally strong when it comes to finishers. Seeing as a lot of their spells could potentially be stuff that utilizes other factors, like for example draconic spells utilizing your weapon attack, stuff like Sky Pillar utilizing a percentage, you don't necessarily need to double down on intelligence with these guys, meaning you can potentially work on something like physical stats on them. Just completely instead of that. Is she going to dodge that? Well, that would have been nice if she didn't get hit by 225% in a row, but thank you, RNG. That's greatly appreciated. Anyway, so one way or another, though, a really, really, really versatile class for a lot of different roles. What I was trying to show here in this particular instance was, hey, did you know that you could go ahead and, boost your ranged units and they get that extra damage, and then RNG was like, hey, what if your archer just got deleted against all odds? Anyway, it's fine, whatever, we'll deal. Anyway, so, I personally loved using this as Denim's class in my most recent playthrough. But as an example, something like instruments are going to be a weapon that has a chance to charm on hit. You could use fire magic to guarantee that charm, as well as inflicting a crit at long range. You could use, for example, something like their TP moves to give yourself the ability to just go and build up TP for the guaranteed Bewitch move that's available on the thing as well. You've got a multi-hit on the first finisher option. You've got a stun option for your second attack. I actually forget what the fourth one is off the top of my head right now, seeing as that one changed, I believe. But still, you've got speed buffs, you've got flight buffs, like I was planning to go add flight to my dude here in just a second. But yeah, they've got so many options for just kind of adapting to whatever your situation may happen to be in, that particular moment. Additionally, it's also worth noting that if you do decide to go for any of their other weapon options, obviously you will have those options available to you as well. Like if you decide that, hey, maybe you're not really feeling the items this time around, maybe what you'll instead go for is, let's say, pistol and 1 HK. Having essentially a line of sleep finishers available from the katanas there. Potentially, let's say, getting something like poison over from your swords, or potentially using the handgun there to go and disable stuff at really long range, essentially becoming a just more or less gun wizard, So either way, it's really good stuff there. Okay, additionally, I think what we're going to do is actually just have him go and probably just distill life on himself, probably throw an item on that guy. In fact, actually, no, he doesn't have that much. Okay, so instead what we're going to do, we're going to go over here, we're going to go ahead and heal this guy, heal him up a little bit. We'll probably give him a resonance in a moment, but he needs to go get his girlfriend up off the ground. So instead, we're going to go ahead and give him a salve right here. Seeing as full item access means that he's basically got full heals wherever he goes. Very, very good stuff. Stuff like Distill Remedy is great for getting rid of silence, something that a lot of casters have to deal with when it comes to archers and such. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of potential for breaking out of stalemates, breaking out of bad situations. Like, they constantly can adapt everything. Easily one of the most versatile units, like I said. So like in this particular case, he's probably going to have to go and give himself up to let her get back up on her feet. But again, we'll deal as we'll deal. Really would have been nice to see that flight in effect, but fine. It is what it is. Actually, come to think of it, maybe we just, I guess we'll just distill Remedy out of that one. Actually, did I take Remedy off him? I might have done that, now that I think about it. Alright, so with that all said, let's go ahead and discuss some of those magic options here real quick. So for every element type, they will have access to overhead AoEs. When it comes to basic buffs and debuffs, so stuff like Grace for dodge, or something like Fortify from Earth, they'll have access to that there. However, it's really the secondary buff and debuff thing that really gets to stick out. So for example, Hover Draft is something, for example, you could also go do on a Fencer, but Warlock as well. So being able to give somebody the ability to fly, or let's say giving somebody the ability to have additional damage reflection as well as hyper armor. So this is basically like kind of like Dragon Scale that you can just go and cast on somebody. But for example, with somebody that can use reflection, that can use, for example, a spiked shield, and then combine Razorback on top of that, they can actually go positive on damage reflection if they're doing this. Or for example, something like Electrify for going and doubling TP on somebody. or if you want to go for a bit more support, Warlock can actually go for something like Purify, which actually does a pretty solid job healing. If you ever heard somebody say that Purify was good, they either played SNES or One Vision, because it was pretty much doo-doo in every other version, but here it is solid. A solid healing move, basically heals, I believe, as well as the regular heal does, as well as getting rid of poison, but scales off water instead. Or, for example, stuff like Soul Spark, which we mentioned before, for giving somebody a Mighty Strike, Winter Siege for a battering ram, as well as Water Walk. Very situational, but potentially very useful. But additionally, Haste, Mute, Oblivion for putting somebody to sleep. Let's see, what do they actually have for Dark these days? Let's see, Decay for Poison and Weaken. Very good in crowds, especially against slower units, like for Berserkers, for Terranites and stuff like that. Decay can really ruin them pretty good. Drain Heart, just like the Terranite there, able to take a percentage health off of something. Really good for healing themselves off of bosses. So potentially, let's say there's a dragon, there's a boss, something. Drain Heart plus Distill Life. That's pretty much a full heal from whatever the hell they ran into. Same thing for Drain Power, Drain Mind. Just like Drain plus Distill is pretty darn fun. Just absolutely take somebody else's issues. Charge for supporting somebody else. Lancet for healing them at the cost of yourself. As well as the usual wide variety of different debuffs that they get, from Charm to Fear to binding a target to hobbling to leadening to slowing to stunning. Like, it's comical. And then once we get into the actual stuff here, we already talked about ballistics and acrobatics, agony, as well as the usual kind of armor-piercing stuff from before. And realistically, I would say this is one of the few classes that you can justify running like three different classes of magic at the same time. Whether you wanted petrifications, accuracy drops, whether you wanted percentage damage, mass slows, flight, whether you wanted to leaden and slow from water. Like, water warlocks get a ton of value from there. They've got, for example, corrosion for getting rid of TP and poisoning. They've got sludge bind again for leaden and slow, which, as well as an RT delay. I forgot about that part. So just a massive slowdown across the board in a large area. Give them a spell strike buff, and they're good to go right from there. Switch them straight into healing. Or again, you've got something like a Strengthen over here off of Enrage, combining with a Soul Spark. If you're going for a more offensive variant, Water Fire, not a bad combination there. Remember that we do still have that thing, kind of sort of brought in from Reborn, where if you hit a target with, let's say, water, they'll end up becoming weak to lightning and such. So remember that those pairings are potentially a thing. You might be able to make yourself a kind of damage boost chain there. Furthermore, remember that when it comes to boosting their numbers, you don't actually have to only go for stabs either. Having access to spell striking knives give them, well, for lack of a better term, they're just the side grade knives here. Give a significant boost to mind on top of giving the ability to silence something. So not only could you potentially guarantee the silence, you've got a huge amount of mind that you can put on there while still keeping a shield on you. They get access to light style shields here, so if you wanted more direct damage, you could go for a Flame and Void, but realistically going for an evasion shield is probably going to be a better option in a lot of situations. Maybe a damage reflection shield if you're going Earth. Again, Spike Shield, reflect damage as a skill on top of whatever the hell it was, Spike Skin, means that you can just basically sit in place and just do free damage. When it comes to their equipment, I personally found it really useful to run something like a light helmet for accuracy, but you do have, again, further mind options if you want to dang near guarantee all of those debuffs from before. And this is one of the few classes that can effectively run around shutting stuff down with huge odds of success, while simultaneously still healing themselves, healing their allies, supporting. They can do a ton of jobs at once. They are the absolute overworker of the One Vision roster, going well out of their way to just completely forego sleep in favor of winning the fight. So yeah, don't let them get too overstretched, but they're extraordinarily versatile. They're uniquely versatile. Nobody else puts this much on their plate and still considers that okay. Again, they are the college student of the roster. And to my mind, again, the instruments are just a really fun option. Not only do you have the kind of mid-range attack options that the thing has, you've got a lot of fun guarantees on there. You can't always roll for a chance to charm at any time. Attacking and running is a lot easier, with essentially just kiting with an instrument is surprisingly easy. And the Bewitch finisher is just top-notch. There's not that many options for Bewitch in one vision. It's much rarer of a debuff. So when you can get that thing as a guarantee, that's something you take, you know? And yeah, on top of being evasive, on top of being able to run evasion, on top of debuffs, on top of parry layers, unlike many of the other casters, they are properly able to parry away attacks at a very reasonable rate. Due to the ranking not being removed in this version, this means that rather than being a small chance, you can actually see these guys parrying constantly with good parry equipment, like, again, lightweight helmets and stuff like that. And it's just fun to see so many mechanics employed at one time. You know, percentage damage, high health scaling damage, lots of debuffs, combining lots of weird debuffs at the same time. You love to see it, you know? You love to see this stuff. And it's just infinitely funny to me that you can just be like, you know what? Frickin' gun and shield, that is my wizard. Like, that's just what we're going with today. High evasion, high bullet. The lead content for today has decided to increase. It's also worth noting, just to kind of throw this out here, you might have seen these earlier. Just so you know, there are technically other variations of the Warlock out there. Like, for example, an alternate version of the Warlock that leans a little bit more into the Knight of Lotus thing. That's Rudlam's unique class from later. So just so you know, the Enchanter technically also exists as its own variant. We'll cover that down the road. And even though it's Draconic, Galaxy Stop is going to be Astromancer exclusive. Well, Oracle exclusive. It got changed. But anyway, so that is about that. Class is good. You should use it and stuff. It's fun. It's pretty darn neato. And yeah, give it a try sometime. Y'all have yourselves a good one. Take care, and don't forget to throw items at people. Okay, bye.